What if I told you that living in Canada, a country once known for its great quality of life, has become almost impossible? Rent has soared by 25%, and homeownership is slipping further away for most Canadians. But it gets worse. What's causing this crisis, and what does the future look like? Stay tuned. Hey, welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into something truly shocking. Canada, the place once seen as a paradise, is now in the midst of a housing crisis, with costs soaring and immigration policies making things even worse. Stick with me, because in the next few minutes, you'll understand why living in Canada has become practically impossible for many. And trust me, the story you're about to hear will blow your mind. Imagine being able to afford rent one year, and the next year, it's out of reach. That's the reality many Canadians face today. So what caused this rapid surge in rent and housing prices? Just a decade ago, Canada was seen as a land of opportunity. Affordable housing, strong public health care, and a high standard of living made Canada one of the most desirable countries for families, immigrants, and young professionals. But things have taken a drastic turn in the last few years. Prices for homes and apartments have surged across the nation. In 2017, the average price of a home in Toronto was about $750,000. Now in 2024, that number is well over $1 million, and in some areas of the city it's closer to $1.5 million. It's not just Toronto. The same pattern can be seen in Vancouver, Ottawa, and even smaller cities like Hamilton and Kelowna. Rent prices have also followed suit, increasing 25% in just 1 year in some markets, leaving tenants with little hope. Here's the kicker. The average Canadian salary hasn't kept up with the skyrocketing housing costs. The average Canadian makes around $55,000 per year, yet renting a modest one-bedroom apartment in Toronto can cost as much as $2,300 per month. If you do the math, $2,300 a month equals $27,600 a year, almost half of the average salary of a Canadian. But why are we seeing these astronomical increases? Many blame the housing supply shortage, a direct result of years of underbuilding. Canada has not kept pace with the growing population, especially in major cities. There's simply not enough housing for the number of people moving in. However, there's another major factor driving prices up: foreign investors. In recent years, wealthy investors, both from within and outside Canada, have been snapping up real estate properties, pushing prices even higher. In places like Vancouver, the percentage of real estate purchased by foreign buyers is as high as 30% in some neighborhoods. Do you remember the optimism when Justin Trudeau took office in 2015? People thought he'd bring change. Instead, we're witnessing a housing disaster. When Justin Trudeau was elected in 2015, Canadians were filled with hope. He ran on promises of inclusivity, progressivism, and making life more affordable for families. He positioned himself as a leader who would make Canada a place of opportunity for all. But what happened? How did the hope that he generated turn into the despair we see today? Let's take a closer look. One of the first moves made by the Trudeau government was to introduce affordable housing initiatives and increase immigration. He argued that immigration was key to Canada's future prosperity. But while the influx of immigrants certainly brought economic benefits in terms of labor, it also added more pressure to an already overheated housing market. The government failed to predict that too many people without enough homes would worsen the crisis. Despite promising affordable housing, Trudeau's government did little to curb the skyrocketing real estate prices. As a result, many Canadians have been priced out of the housing market entirely. Meanwhile, the government introduced policies that seemed to cater to the wealthy, tax breaks for investors, loopholes in real estate laws, and overseas buyers benefiting from a system that allowed them to buy up properties at will. And what has been the impact? Renters are getting squeezed harder than ever, and first-time homebuyers are simply unable to break into the market. Canadians are losing their faith in Trudeau's ability to fix the problems he promised to solve. Canada's immigration system was once the solution to our labor shortage, but could it now be contributing to the housing crisis? Canada's history of immigration is long and storied. The country was built on the back of immigrants who came seeking a better life. Whether they were fleeing war, searching for economic opportunity, or escaping oppression, Canada has always welcomed people with open arms. This influx of people was seen as an economic boon, filling jobs, contributing to the economy, and enriching the country's diverse culture. However, in the early 2000s, things started to change. The Canadian government shifted its focus from welcoming immigrants based on family reunification to a skills-based system. This was great for Canada's economy because it ensured that skilled labor came to fill the gaps in the workforce. But there's a dark side to this change. The increase in immigration, while bringing in more skilled labor, also meant a dramatic increase in demand for housing. Between 2016 and 2021, Canada welcomed 1.8 million immigrants, more than ever before. And while this helped the economy, it also created a massive strain on the housing market. Just a few years ago, 2/3 of Canadians supported immigration. Now that number has dropped to 58%. What happened? With this influx of people came higher demand for housing, healthcare, education, and other services. The pressure on these services became more and more apparent, and Canadians started questioning whether they were getting the benefits they were promised. In 2022, Canada's population grew by 465,000 people, and a large chunk of that increase came from immigration. But as housing prices skyrocketed, the public began to feel the burden. The average Canadian felt like they were being left behind as the wealthier immigrants and foreign investors continued to drive up prices. Canadians, especially those in major cities, started to question the government's policies. The initial enthusiasm for immigration started to wane as more and more people struggled to find affordable places to live. What once was seen as a progressive solution to the nation's labor shortage became a pressing issue that many felt had not been properly managed. Canadians are literally fighting for space. Overcrowding has become the new norm, with stories like 25 students living in a single basement apartment becoming a regular occurrence. Is this Canada's new reality? As Canada continues to bring in record numbers of immigrants, cities are bursting at the seams. In some areas, overcrowding has become a serious issue, with people being forced into inhumane living conditions just to survive. The story of 25 international students living in a basement shocked the nation, but it's not an isolated case. Across the country, overcrowded living conditions are becoming more common. Students and immigrants, struggling to make ends meet, are often forced into these tight, unsafe spaces. The problem is not just the physical space, it's the lack of affordable options. Housing prices in cities like Vancouver and Toronto have climbed so high that many people can only afford places that are small, crowded, and in poor condition. Trudeau's popularity is at an all-time low, and Canadians are losing faith in his ability to solve the housing crisis. Can he recover from this disaster? As the housing crisis has worsened, Justin Trudeau's approval ratings have taken a massive hit. The man who promised to fix Canada's problems has now become the symbol of a government that failed to act. Canadians are asking themselves, where are the results? Instead of seeing affordable homes, they are seeing skyrocketing prices and an overwhelming supply shortage. Young families, students, and low-income workers are paying the price for the failure of the housing system. But is there any hope left for them? Now let's talk about the everyday Canadian, the young professionals who move to Toronto or Vancouver, hoping to start their careers, the families looking to put down roots, and the students hoping to get a good education. All of them are facing the same crisis: the inability to afford a home. For the first time in generations, it seems that owning a home is no longer a dream that many can achieve. We're at a breaking point. The system is broken, but is there a way to fix it? The big question is, what can be done? While Canada has tried to address the issue by introducing affordable housing initiatives and limiting foreign ownership, it has not been enough. More needs to be done. Solutions like building more homes, taxing empty properties, and restricting foreign investment in the housing market are just some of the measures being discussed. But will it be enough? Only time will tell. For now, Canada's housing crisis remains a pressing issue with no easy solution. In the next few years, we may look back on this period as the time when everything changed, for better or for worse. The question is, will we be able to find a way to fix the housing crisis, or will Canadians continue to be trapped in an unaffordable system? One thing is certain, the country's future depends on it. Canada once promised a bright future, but today it's a land of contradictions. High immigration and a housing crisis have made living in Canada impossible for many. If you're surprised by how far things have gone, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. What do you think about the future of Canada's housing market? Is it fixable? Or is this just the beginning of a bigger crisis? And don't forget to share this video with your friends. Let's get the conversation going. And stay tuned for our next video, where we'll explore the effects of Canada's population boom on healthcare and public services. You won't want to miss it.